All right, everybody. I have arrived. I'm here. Figured I'd hang out for maybe a half an hour before I go on my journey. And so we'll do an Ask Me Anything. So if anybody has any questions about what I believe or think or whatever's going on, please let me know. If you're an NBA fan, uh, you'd realize that the NBA's been having a ratings crisis. And so now I'm in a situation where I'm like, oh shit, I got to see LeBron and Luca play together. So now I'm interested in basketball again. So everybody's like, this is the biggest trade in the world. Why did they do this? Dallas must have hated this. I think that Mark Cuban got with Adam Silver and they decided they were going to do this for the good of the league. Bricktown in this bitch. Laura in this bitch. Salute to the big homie Applejack. When do you react to Southern Empire? Amazing prog rock from Australia. I think that's actually going to be happening pretty soon here. Great old one in the house. What's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah. Well. Yeah. It's really crazy because I'm listening to all these Democratic strategists and everybody's trying to put their head together to figure out how to effectively win in 26 and 28. But man, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, and that's why it's like, but they're all talking about like disinformation and misinformation and all that. Honestly, if I see a story, I don't even care what the outlet is. I just tag Applejack in it. So it's crazy. I don't know if anybody gets that granular with like not trusting the media, but that's where I'm at. Like, I know him. I know his integrity. He's good at fact check. He's got the tools or whatever. And if he's right or he's wrong or whatever, he'll do a correction. So yeah, I saw some crazy shit about Ukrainian war crimes, and I tagged him in there immediately because you know what I mean. What do you think about the concept of sports just being a massive distraction, part of the bread and the circus? I was listening to Ezra Klein, and Ezra Klein kind of represents like I'm saying this without irony, like the intellectual wing of the Democratic Party. As soon as you listen to Ezra Klein, it's like clear this is a very intelligent, thoughtful person. He brings his friend on. And his friend works for MSNBC, I think, something like that. And they were going back and forth about the violence in the Trump administration and the violence in Trump supporters on January 6th. And then this guy said something really curious that I still can't figure out. He said, how did he phrase it? He said, at some point, I'm starting to believe that men need violence. And it was just a very weird thing to hear because these are two neoliberal Democrats, believe in toxic masculinity, whatever. But this guy is saying that he wonders if men actually need that. And then he talked about himself and he was almost embarrassed. He said that he's fallen in love with jiu-jitsu. And so the subculture of jiu-jitsu is a lot. It's kind of like the boxing gym subculture, which everybody's trying to make it. Everybody's got a little story. Everybody's, whatever. But when I think about sports from that angle, I think about what the most popular sport in the world is, soccer. But what is head and shoulders the most popular sport in America, football. Both of which are called football. And it furthers the irony. I've made the point that Americans, that we are a particularly Spartan or violent culture. And, I've made that kind of like the focal point for my understanding of foreign policy, domestic intelligence, whatever. You asked a question about sports. Is it a distraction? It depends on the kind of sport. I do think it says something about the soul of America in contradistinction to the rest of the world. That to the rest of the world, soccer is the most popular sport. and I'm pretty sure the nickname of soccer is like the beautiful game. Whereas football is the American sort of pastime, and it's not even close. And it's an extremely violent sport. UFC got definitely the people in Brazil, obviously the Gracie family, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but that's really an American effort. Boxing titles, it's the American boxing conferences that turn you into a world champion. So I think at some level there's a bread and circus element to it. And remember, like when we're talking about the circus, we're not talking about, I'm saying this for other people, but we're not talking about like you know, a lion jumping through hoops or something like that. We're talking about the gladiatorial games and lions tearing people's necks apart, all type of shit, right? So it's like it seems to me that it's like, for example, I was in an organization, and every single person in that organization had played football, like to a man. Every single one of us had played football in this particular organization, and it was not an organization for like, you know, it was a, you know, smart person type thing. But even still, in that kind of environment, still the football player was. And so my point is, it's like we've got boxing, we've got UFC, we've got football, we've got professional wrestling, all of these things where the main character is actually violence. And so I do think that at some level, if I really wanted to get conspiratorial, on one level it has an effect of like, okay, like we're gonna distract these people, rah. But on another level, what happens when you join a team? You immediately learn de-individuation, right? So like, you are your own separate person, I'm my own separate person, da, da, da. And what do? They put a uniform on you. So a one form. There's only one way to be on this team, a uniform. And my point is, all that stuff gets you to understand de-individuation, where you yourself are not a priority and could be and might be sacrificed for the good of the whole. Joining a team is the first time that really happens. And so it's like, on the one hand, I think it makes for very good soldiers. It makes for very good intelligence analysts. It makes for very good psychological operators. But it doesn't make for an informed populace. And you kind of saw this with the Kaepernick situation, where people were saying, you're politicizing football, right? As if the NFL is not already a politicized, like, I remember, I think it was one of my first Super Bowls when I came to the country, and Whitney Houston did that iconic thing, and then you see these F-16 flying over top, and like, you just get caught up in the moment, especially as a little kid. I was like, oh my God, like this country is insane, like this is happening in real life, like there's literally, and then like, she's got the best singing voice I've ever heard, oh my God, America, right? So it does that too. And it's really interesting because I had some interactions with some of our European counterparts, and they're like, you Americans are so arrogant. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, every time you guys win something in one of your leagues, you call yourselves the world champions. It's like, you're just the champions of America. You're not the world champion. You see what I'm saying? And so, but again, all of that creates a certain kind of person. These assumptions and these sort of emotional connections between individual greatness, Whitney Houston, and then the de-individuated sort of like hegemonic understanding of America, which is what those planes overhead represent. All of that was happening in the context of sport. So I do think that sport works to distract people from that. And I think we know that intuitively, which is one of the reasons I think that people had such a problem with Kaepernick. It's because it's like, look, you're not getting it, bro. Like, this is our escape from that, right? And then Cap was saying, yeah, but we don't get to escape it. And so, back and forth. But anyway, really good questions. I do believe that sports are here in America to distract us. I also believe that they are also there to train us. Because if you spend your entire life on Little League, you're going to come out the other side a pretty good American in the MAGA sense. Because you're going to understand the concept of teamwork. You're going to have to understand that there's sacrifice, there's this, there's that, blah, blah, blah. There isn't much, in team sports when you really join a league or whatever, even, there isn't much like express yourself, be yourself. There's none of that. It's, hey, you wear the same jersey as this guy. So the guy across from you has no idea who you are, what you've done, whatever. But the guy across you, because you got that different thing, he's going to try to drive you into the ground. Right? And so, like, you understand de-individuation. You also get to understand applied violence that is impersonal. So, like, I'm going to truck you with this football, but it has nothing to do with you. I don't have a problem with you. It's just, I'm on the red team, you're on the blue team. That's it. Those are not natural. Sports accomplishes all that for us. And if you look in the Islamic world too, little children get ajr, or good deeds, or credit from God for playing war games in the sand and all the rest of it, right? So it's like every Spartan culture begins indoctrination at the child level. And I just think that Americans are a lot more, I think our government purposely indoctrinated us via the vehicle of sports. So that was a very long explanation, but that's where I'm at. Hey Ian, good to see you, baby. Sorry guys, I haven't been looking at the I haven't been looking. Yeah, the team should be the Americans, not the right versus left. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, my kids are very politically aware. Some of them are extremely politically active. And they came of age in the Trump era. And I'm not blaming this singularly on Trump. But the division that Trump inspires, and I honestly do not know if it's through his fault or his own or whatever, but like young people in their 20s, or people 19 like my son, seeing how much people hate each other, seeing the words and the videos that get. I was just watching a quick YouTube clip where the girl thought that Trump was assassinated, and her friend dropped the laundry and like ran and was like, really, what? Like genuinely happy, right? And like, this is par for the course now. All the people my son's age have grown, kind of come of age politically in this horrible tribalized environment where I genuinely don't know what I am an American means to my neighbors anymore. We talk about like after 9/11, like for 2 weeks, like it was paradise. Now there's another mini 9/11, another plane crashes in a horrific fashion. And instead of getting to know the names and the lives and the stories of the families, we're arguing over whether or not DEI was the cause of the plane crash. So, it's shit like that that hurts to see. You know what I mean? It does hurt to see, I'm not gonna lie about it. I don't know what we're doing anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean it is yeah, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I social media has a lot to do with it, because I also believe that we really don't understand the effect that 2020 had on all of us. From just a raw pandemic side to the real sort of different universes that our government was inhabiting versus people, how the media was engaging it, how quickly Americans flipped on each other. I mean, I got caught up in it. You know what I'm saying? When I say Americans, I'm not removed. Like, so we had all this going on. We had people that were like, yo, like, do we want the government telling us what to do with our bodies? And it was very ironic, obviously. But, like, and then us our kids not being able to hang out with each other if they go to school, you know what I'm saying? Like, that one friend that you have, like, if you're LGBT, like, those are probably the only people that in your crew that you find at school. They had to stay home. And I was just reading another thing where it talked about LGBTQ youth getting radicalized over 2020. And it's like, well, of course, because they're already such a super minority, right? And so then when you take them away from a context where they at least had somebody else that got it, you're going to go into extremes, which is what's happening in our government right now, in my opinion alone, relative to trans people. I think the pendulum is swinging way too hard, way too fast, and a lot of this shit is unnecessary. And I'm extremely worried about trans teenagers who are going to interpret all of this as their country hates them. The CCP also gave free healthcare and assisted in education. I bet they did. I don't think... Oh. Yeah, well, the problem, Ian, is that Mr. Trump... I don't know how deep I want to get into this, but a lot of people believe that Trump supporters are, just sycophants who are unfeeling and unthinking and just go with whatever Trump says. I think that's a misreading of the average Trump voter. I think that's and I think it's one of the reasons why they haven't been able to defeat him, really, put him away. And it's because there are certain nuances in the mind state of a Trump supporter that get overlooked. For example, Operation Warp Speed was what Trump did. He spearheaded with the pharmaceutical companies to get us a vaccine that was, useful, whatever you want to call it, which obviously set off the whole vaccine mandate situation. But the left and Democrats were saying, take the jab. But the right-wingers were saying, no, we can't do that because the government tells us what to do with our body. We don't know what's going on in there. I felt like both of them had really, really valid arguments. Relative to how that was going to be handled. So Trump, in his rallies, tries to take credit, as he always does, for Operation Warp Speed and get the vaccines out to us. And they booed him. And then he went to another state and they booed him. Then he did it in another state and he said, all right. And then he just kept it moving and he didn't mention it. And I'm pretty sure he didn't mention it at all during the 2024 campaign. So here's my point about that. A lot of people, because I do think Trump has something of a cult. I look at it like the Virgin Mary, right? Like, not every Catholic is worshiping the Virgin Mary, but there are definitely, some pockets of Catholicism that worship him. So when I say the Trump cult, I do not mean people who sat down and voted for Trump and said, well, it's a lesser to... I'm not talking about that. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like, the type of people that would answer a January 6th type call. If you look at those people as mindless sycophants, and I think... what it really is, I was watching a movie about this guru, and I forgot the name of the guru, but the entire thing was complete and total BS. Like, literally, he made the whole thing up. And what I started to notice in the show was that they started filling all these blanks in about who he was and how holy he was and all the rest of it. And it got to a point where I could tell he was being held hostage by his followers. Right? And so it's like there's a very weird symbiosis dance between the cult leader and the cult. They actually, at a subliminal level, understand that they actually need each other and are controlling each other simultaneously. I do not believe that Trump supporters are completely, brain dead idiots who are just going to listen to what he says. And I think that that's why they're so effective. They're actually extremely intelligent. And they are thinking, and they signal to Trump, look, as long as you're pushing forth what we feel is going to be good for us, we're good with you. But if you do anything like warp speed or anything that puts me in a situation where I'm under the government boot, I will boo you to your face, which is what they did. And so the Democratic strategy has got to take that into account, because you can exploit that if you want, but it also will help you not dismiss your neighbor as some crazy cultist. Maybe you could give your neighbor some credit and say, actually, there's a method behind the madness. That's what I think. Catholics are united in faith, not like you evangelical cultists. Yeah. That's why all the that's why you've got Saint Contism. That's why you've got the Norva Soto versus the Extraordinary Form people, all type of stuff, man. Not to mention your current Pope right now, bro. I don't even think normie Catholics are cool with your current Pope right now. I always thought that was such a strange argument from the Catholics. Like there's some sort of like complete unity in Catholicism. Democrats are funny. They cry over Trump tariffs, yet they went quiet when Biden kept his tariffs and added on to them. Yeah, I mean, totally right. And that's the thing that gets me about the Democrats. It's like, I understand how people feel about AOC, I promise. But man, I think she would have been something better than, no disrespect to homeboy. You know what I'm saying? The 77-year-old guy with esophageal cancer, like, no disrespect, bro. But, I mean, Shorty's the future, obviously, right? And especially now, the Democrats don't have a real defined leader because Obama-ism is over now because Kamala lost. So, I mean, I don't know. Holy Father Pope Francis rules. Well, he rules the Vatican, I'm sure, but you can't deny that the other criticisms I had for you were valid. Not to mention, you've got a Pope, Honorius, who was a heretic. So you would have had to be a good Catholic, you'd have had to follow Honorius, but simultaneously you following Honorius, you would be committing heresy according to the next pope. Like, this is not as simple as you think it is. Catholic priest from UK recently defrocked for giving Nazi salute. Clowns doing clownish things. Yeah. Me personally, my theory on what Elon did was that he knew it would trigger the people that it triggered. And what I would say is that was the day of the inauguration. And at the end of the night and into the morning the next day, people were not highlighting per se much of what Trump was saying, but everybody was litigating that hand gesture, which tells me that Elon was able to sort of overshadow Trump on the day of his inauguration. That's the kind of person I think Elon Musk is. I think everything is planned out from an anticipatory perspective. the whole... I was actually a little bit insulted when people were like, oh, he's autistic. It's like, I've got a friend right now, I'm going to say his name, but literally one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met in my life. And he would never do... He would literally be the last human being on the face of this earth. And I've got kids. I got a bunch of kids. But this guy would be the last person on the face of the earth to do that. And he's on the spectrum. So I was a little bit offended by all the spectrum talk. And you know what? I might be giving him way too much credit, but I think that that's what he wanted to do. I think he wanted to outshine Trump on his own day, because Trump was the one that they were saying was literally Hitler, right? So now Elon gets to wear that crown, and I think as long as Elon is perceived that way by Democrats and the left, the more powerful he's going to become, because the coverage of him is going to be, if he keeps pulling these stunts, coverage of him is going to be, 50-50 with coverage of Trump. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird situation to be in, man. Weird situation to be in. Then, do you think USAID has ever done anything better for Americans than harm them, considering their regime change funding all across the world? Well, yeah. I mean, obviously. It's like the scripture says, you know them by their fruits, right? You can have the most, lofty speech, the sophistry, the rhetoricians, whatever. But if I see after millions and billions of dollars, folks are not in a really good situation and people around them are in a worse situation, that's all I need. You see what I'm saying? It really infuriates me when people bring that up as being as having anything to do with the Nazi. Don't piss on us and tell us it's raining. Yeah, and Bricktown also on the spectrum. Both of those guys, I'm serious, they're like literally the last people on the face of the earth that would ever do that. So I wasn't really a fan of people, but this is what happens. We want to give him a pass because he's Elon Musk, so we want to give him a pass because our tribe has anointed him. So we gotta find a way to defend it. I mean, I heard even the ADL defended it. and look, whether or not he literally meant to use it as a whatever, my theory about him is he knew how it was going to be interpreted, he knew how it was going to be engaged, and he knew that the result would be he would be the one that we're all talking about right now, and all we're hearing about Trump's are the tariffs. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Sup, Vin? What are your thoughts on the significance of naming? It clearly bears some power in biblical stories. Yeah, it's interesting. That's kind of like a chicken or the egg question that I'm going to be thinking about for a week. Here's what I mean. So, you got two twins. I mean, you got a pair of twins. They're born. One of them is called Esau. Esau is called Esau because he's hairy. Okay, so the kid came out mega hairy. But there was another kid right behind Esau, but he was grabbing his heel. And so they named him Yaakov, or Jacob, and they named him that. It basically means heel grabber or cheater or deceiver, right? So the kid hadn't really done anything with his conscious mind, we think, other than, reflexively grab out to his brother. But he had that name, and the rest of his life was really characterized by that. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Have we seen this in history before? Hold on. Naming. Yeah, so like, was he always a deceitful person? Or was it the fact that he was named that, and because he was named that, he was just like, all right, I'm gonna have to walk into it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like one of those Matrix questions. Yeah, very, very interesting question. Somebody asked me another question. Do you believe that there are inconsistencies in the Bible, and if so, how do you deal with them in contrast to your faith? I don't believe that there are any inconsistencies in the Bible. But my mindset on the authorial intent has changed over time, and some of that has had to do with my interfacing with my atheist friends. So one example would be, I was raised in a fundamentalist Pentecostal environment, which is cool, and we were told to take Genesis as a literal 7-day period, whatever. This is never proven in the Bible, but all the people that would come in for the apologetics conferences would say the earth is only 10,000 years old, whatever, right? And so I was like, all right, cool. That's where we're at. And about 15 years ago, you started seeing all these Christians embracing evolution or whatever. And I'm like, the hell is wrong with you guys? Like, don't you have a Bible? So they kept saying to us, like, yeah, man, but since the beginning, like, there have been a lot of interpretations there because, first of all, you've got light before the sun. What's going on there? This is clearly a polemic against paganism. Blah, 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 blah. So, like, it helped me understand the genres and the authorial intent. In other words, you can go to the meteorologist, your local meteorologist, right? And your local meteorologist says, all right, sunrise is going to be 6:05 p.m., right? Well, you and I both know, because we believe we're in a heliocentric system, that the sun does not rise. It does not go up. It has to do with the motion of the earth, not the motion of the sun. Like, you and I know that. But regardless, the weatherman who went to school for this, he tells you sunrise is going to be at 6:04 p.m. And the reason you don't turn off the channel and say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, is because you understand that when he says sunrise, he is not responding to a heliocentrism versus geocentrism question. What he's responding to is an experience question. In other words, I know what it's like to sit on my couch and watch the sun rise, right? So I want to position myself to be in a situation where I can experience that phenomenology. That's what you call phenomenological language. I mean, it's language from the perspective, the naive perspective of a human observer, even though we know that those things aren't true. So, for example, I'm looking at my camera right now, and it's still. It's not moving. But that's the phenomenology. It's not moving. It's stationary. But we know that it is moving because the earth is spinning around at whatever, right? So the Bible uses phenomenological language, and it doesn't correct the scientific shortfalls because it's not designed to answer those questions. Just like the meteorologist is trying to tell you when you can have that experience, that's the point of the meteorologist in that situation. When the Bible talks about creation, things of that nature, that's also applicable. We're not talking about the mechanisms of creation as much as we're talking about the intention of the Creator. So I think that's very, very important. I think those distinctions are distinctions that Christians should be taught about on a regular basis. I should not have had to get a couple atheist friends to refine my understanding of the Bible, but they did. So that's how I look at it. 5 more minutes, guys. 5 more minutes. And sorry I'm not getting to your guys' questions a lot. I gotta go make room for dinner. Sorry I could stay longer. Yeah. Much love to you, baby. For sure. Yeah. And correctly transcribe the word of God. No. Hold on. If the Bible is the word of God filtered through, written down, how could it be possibly not be inconsistent? Humanity is flawed. There's no way. Yeah. No. Yeah. If humanity was the one that was ultimately responsible for the book, I would definitely say that. But as a Christian, I believe in verbal plenary inspiration. So God had the final editorial in the book, is what I believe. Personal test. Yeah, guys, I will take two more questions. 2 more questions before I get up out of here. Stephen Amrar, good to see you, baby. The Bible's too human-centered. The Bible is not centered on humanity. The Bible is centered on God, my brother. God is the main character in the Bible. Vin, what do you think is more harmful? Nazism that shows its face, or Nazism that pretends to be for the people but sneaks Nazi ideology into their laws? Yeah, I don't... I think one of the great things about the Trump administration and even Elon's stunt, to be honest with you, is I think we're going to stop hearing a lot about Hitler and Nazis. I think now that demographic realizes that is not a particularly potent argument. And I'm glad that that's going away. Inshallah, it stays away. Now, for me, let me put it this way, because there's a lot of people that don't have a lot of self-awareness. I just saw a couple videos of God bless her, Selena Gomez, crying her eyes out because of the illegal immigration stuff, right? You know what's fascinating? Obama had a nickname, Deporter-in-Chief. I never saw her or AOC crying to a camera about it. Trump comes along, and you guys know what he did at the border in his first term. AOC's crying her eyes out. Biden comes along, does the same. No crying from AOC, no crying from Rachel Maddow, no crying for Selena Gomez. I turn on my TV today. Selena Gomez is having a giant meltdown over people being forced to leave the country. So what happens with a person like me is like, why are your emotions only activated when Trump is doing it? When Obama is doing it, your emotions weren't activated. When Biden was doing it, your emotions weren't activated. You see what I'm saying? And for me, it's like, oh, it's not like I gotcha and I'm competitive and I gotcha, but it's more like you use the suffering of those people as a stepping stone to get where you want, even though you really didn't care about them. So all this Nazi stuff, you know, come on, guys. I mean, it's tough for me, Applejack, because there's a lot of stuff I'm not saying. Like, for example, 2 years before Putin invaded, it was Time magazine that said, in bold print on front page, the Ukraine, remember that? We used to call it the Ukraine. The Ukraine has a Nazi problem. It literally said that 2 years ago. So it's like, it's very hard to like navigate this stuff and try to be serious when things like that are happening. A man was shot dead because AOC cried at a fence and didn't mention that it was the car park. Oh man, I did not know that. That sucks. Trump is only building concentration camps for immigrants and saying they're poisoning blood of the nation. Haitians are eating cat, blaming immigrants for everything. Nothing Nazi like that about it all. I mean, that's no disrespect, but that's what I'm talking about. A holding facility at Gitmo is not a concentration camp. It's actually a pretty humane thing to do. It was one of the reasons why when Biden first lifted Remain in Mexico and you had a giant influx of people didn't understand. They're like, yo, Biden's got these people sleeping on the ground like dogs, blah, blah, blah. They didn't understand. Like, there was literally nothing they could do for those people. For the amount of people that came in, they didn't have the ability to deal with it all. And so it's like, okay, you can have that option, or you can have an option where, because Gitmo's been there since before the war on terror, right? So it doubles as, yeah, I'm gonna say that. Love you, brother, and my sister, and your family. This is my daily chat. Thank you for streaming early. Yeah. Oh, you doing WWE? Give me some pics, bro. Give me some pics. Well, I'm almost certain I'm doing that. I'm almost certain there's things I have wrong in the Bible. I'm almost certain of it. Which is why I said I'm grateful to be in my atheist group, atheist, pagan, whatever, because those are the real challenges come in. And then, you guys are all uncommonly intelligent, so you can't really, do no fuck shit. Like, you gotta have, So, no. Yeah, we're completely good with that. We're completely good with that. A guy saw AOC and crying and went, oh, that's right. I did. Yeah, she did. That's true. That's true. But notice how it took Steve all that time to jog my memory? Because the media buried the story. Because they knew if somebody did that off the word of Trump, that they'd put the entire thing on him, rightfully so. But AOC decided to play that political game, and shit went crazy for a little bit. I do remember that. Vinny, I need a one-on-one with you. Why do you need a one-on-one with me? We as Americans have been Nazis for a while, asked the Middle East. 100% true. 100% true. And that's why I can't stand putting Nazis in some separate kind of batch of like the worst of all humanity. No, it's just human nature. And we want to have a boogeyman so that we could say there is nothing in us that could ever animate us to do what those people did. That's what we want to believe about ourselves. That's why we've taken the Nazis and then put them over on some desert island, because they're not like us. They're like some different species of Homo sapien, man. Yeah, I mean, Actions have consequences, man. See what I'm saying? Actions have consequences. You have a group of people who are united by a certain ideology that they've learned from birth, and then you have another set of people that says everybody's ideologies are fine. There's room for everybody in here, and we don't really believe in anything. Well, when those two groups clash, one is going to definitively be superior to the other. Good night. Have you ever tried a peanut butter jelly and mustard sandwich? Disgusting. No, I haven't tried that monstrosity because I'm a Christian. All right, guys, one more question. Use Nazi text, though. Von Braun was running part of the Apollo project, and he knew slave death labor was used for V-2 rocket bases. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. It's like, what Operation Paperclip. We flew all these Nazis over because we could benefit from, their ingenuity with science and all the rest of it, man. It's a dirty business, bruh. Would love to talk with you two offline. It's been a while. Loved every second of those talks. Okay. We'll set something up, big bro. We'll set something up. Yo, yeah. Peanut butter with the mustard is not allowed. That is correct. That is correct. Europe will never recover. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that Europe will never recover. We don't know that. I just think that, one of my favorite philosophers was a man by the name of G.K. Chesterton. And he talked about how fences actually create liberty. It was a really counterintuitive, but he said, listen, if you were on top of a plateau 500 feet suspended in the air, right? So it's just this plateau 500 feet, and it's a circular one. It's and so it's like, I mean, if you fall, you're done. Chesterton said, you put a bunch of kids in a situation like that. You know what they're going to do? They're all going to coagulate into the middle, right? Because it's like, there's no fence, one slip and it's over with. Let's all meet in the middle so we can be farther away from these edges. He said, but if you built a fence around the edges, those kids would be able to play throughout the entire yard because they have a fence around it. And I think what's going on with European and Western culture is that we're on a 10,000 foot, circular pad. And what's been happening is people have started chipping away at that wall. And chipping away at the wall. And chipping away at the wall. And you got other people saying, holy shit, if you keep doing that, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And the person says, I want to see what's on the other side of the wall. I'm being held back. And everybody says, yeah, I understand you want to see what's on the other side of the wall, bro. But we've been doing this for a long time and we've survived. Like, maybe we should just listen to our parents. Well, what do our parents know? They don't even have cell phones. So we just keep going and destroying this wall. And now you got people who were doing all this. They're now coagulated into the middle because you've got elements in society that are deconstructing things, deconstructing walls that have built and maintained society. And the response then is a bunch of people start coagulating in the middle, right? And so they have this extreme reaction. You say, you know what? There's a lot of territory and field here that you can play in. But because all the fences are down, those kids don't want any parts of it. So when you plan on removing a structure that's been part of a culture for hundreds of years, you better make damn sure that you can replace it with something just as inspiring and unifying and sustainable. Vin has extended his arm. Must be a Nazi salute. Yeah. Pax Americana. Didn't Jesus say something about millstone? Yeah, he said if you cause one of these little ones to believe in me to sin, it'd be better for you to tie a millstone around your neck and cast yourself into the sea. Jesus didn't play around kids. He did not play about kids. Oh, looks like Trump agreed to delay the tariff on Mexico for a month. So is that a good thing? Kind of like someone points a gun at you and decides not to shoot you after? Well, you know, anything having a... I felt like Trump was a lot more predictable in his first term. There's a lot about Trump now that I really can't predict. Like, for example, I would have predicted he would have freed a couple Jan 6ers. But did not anticipate he was going to free like 1,500 of them. I actually anticipated that he was going to get a giant win. I did not anticipate the popular vote. So, I just think that he is a person that's so dynamic, and take it for what it is, but he's just so dynamic that you really can't tell what he's going to do. And because of that, I think that's one of the reasons it's so hard to build a strategy to take him down, because he's so unpredictable. Free Luigi. Yeah. Alright guys, I gotta get out of here. Let me know if you guys want any more of these early for me, hangouts. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very relaxing. I ain't gonna lie. I had zero doubt he would pardon everybody. Yeah, it's crazy, Brick, because yeah, you guys are definitely right about it. Even J.D. Vance was like, well, of course we're not going to let out violent offenders. It's, like, that's the thing that gets me about politics nowadays. Everything is zero sum. Like, I believe that there were political reasons why certain people got jammed up and etc. But that doesn't mean that you still can't prosecute the egregious ones that were doing all types. I mean, one of them's dead already. Rest in peace to him. But just incredible. Incredible, that guy. Just and like, there was just a sheer number of that was the thing that got me. It was just like every day he was doing like 2 or 3 things. And again, I'm not saying like I'm not traumatized or whatever. I don't hate Trump. I'm not one of those people. It's just, I just think that people got shell-shocked. I think everybody's been shell-shocked because it's like, there's just a certain kind of pattern that these guys have, kind of assumed and held on to that they're really not going to do. It's pretty crazy. Peanut butter, jelly, and mustard is of the devil. Haha! Luca was traded to the Lakers to pre-Lebron and ratings. The NBA is corrupt, just like our politics. Brent, you are 100% true, bro. I think that was like Jason Whitlock who first floated that idea to me. But yeah, I think Adam Silver went to the homie and said, look, man, I gotta have you take a hit for a team. Because this shit ain't working. Like, our ratings are absolute garbage. You know, Netflix is gonna start selling off their NBA shares and buying another day from the NFL. We gotta do something. That's what it looked like to me. That's what it looked like to me. Because, like, it's literally inexplicable. I don't even know if anybody in their right mind would trade LeBron for Luca. Much less. You know what I'm saying? Just a thought, but sometimes the background music track overshadows your voice. Might want to tone it down. Oh, that's good. You should have told me that before. I'd have been able to take care of it earlier. Let's see. I'll turn that up. Let me turn on my mic. Let me turn on my mic a little bit. All right, guys. Love y'all. I might hit this up again later on tonight, guys. I might hit this up again later on tonight. In the interim, love your neighbor, take care of each other.